So, welcome to Dominate Your Day. I am thrilled to have with us today, fresh from Paris, um, Ruth Gotian. And Ruth, welcome. Oh my gosh, how are you doing
Thank
now?
you. I'm a little jet lagged, but on a high from the Olympics. Was that not the most incredible
Oh
thing?
my gosh, and let's just give our listeners are probably going, what? What was she doing at the Olympics? So, Ruth, Dr. Ruth, do we get to call you Dr. Ruth or is it just Dr. Ruth Go?
Well, there's only one Dr. Ruth, and
That's
unfortunately she passed away recently, but she's
fine.
the OG. So I
So,
give her that credit.
yes. But Dr. Ruth Gotian is the Chief Learning Officer and Associate Professor of Education and Anesthesiology at Weill Cornell Medicine. So she is one of those people out there doing a lot and getting to design. She's gotten to design her actual job that she does every day, which I wouldn't even call it a job. I would call it some kind of experience. You've written books, you're speaking, you're working with athletes. Oh my gosh. So let's start with the Olympics. What was your high?
Look, first of all, getting to be there. I study extreme high achievers. So I routinely talk to Nobel Prize winners and astronauts and NBA champions and Olympians. But there's a difference between studying them and seeing them in their natural habitat. And that's what I got to see at the Olympics.
Oh my
They were
gosh.
in all their glory. And I do a lot of executive coaching of elite athletes, and we talk about the next steps. And it's the same tools that they use in their sport to, figure out what they want to do after, outside of competition. But seeing them in that element, right? The buzzer
Mhm.
goes off, the team runs on, the refs come on. It's just electrifying. You can watch any sport on television, but being there in real time is a completely different experience, even if you don't understand the sport at all. And it's just pure fun when you actually know personally, the athletes and some of their backstory. So it was incredible. And anyone who ever has the opportunity to go to an Olympic venue, an Olympic game, I highly recommend it.
Well, and you focus. So I was cracking up last night, of course, watching Simone and the U.S. gymnastics team and watching all the celebrities taking pictures of them. And I'm thinking, wait, they did that too. So what is that environment like? And how do we create that environment for ourselves with that mindset? Because there's a mindset kind of never giving up, of taking up in Simone's case, wait, taking a break,
That's right.
coming back, being stronger. What
Yeah.
was this? Her rest. She was restored. She was ready to come back. I
Yeah.
can't imagine that energy that was around you at that moment. Just that was just one thing we saw. I mean, you
It's
knew a lot behind the scenes.
it is palpable. The energy is palpable. But I've always been the kind of person. I'm actually less interested on what's happening in the midst of the competition, and I'm more interested in what's happening backstage. Or,
Mm,
I want to see them warming up. I want to see when they are, if there's a soccer game and they're switching players, I want to see what warm ups they're doing. You could tell so much by how they're warming up, what their eagerness is like, right? Who's totally ready, who's totally motivated. And I like to see that kind of prep work in the background, those conversations that they're having right before in order to get into that mindset. To me, that is what's fascinating. What's happening on the mat, what's happening on the court is pure execution. But I am interested in that preparation. That's why Broadway shows, I'm looking off stage more than I'm looking on stage, because I want to see what it is that they're doing. And those are the things you don't usually see on television.
and
And I
it's
have to tell you, the athletes are very much in tune with what their mind and body need. So much so that this past December, yeah, I mean, you mentioned I do all these things, and we'll get to it later, but I had within a 2-week period a Nobel Prize winner, an Olympian, and an NBA champion say to me, Ruth, stop. Just stop. Go away. Don't take your laptop. Go away for a few days. You need a break or you're going to crack. they recognize that rest is necessary. Where I think those of us who are doing that daily grind in the office and at work don't always recognize that for ourselves, because maybe our work isn't physical. So we don't feel it as much. And we say, oh, we can just push a little bit more. Ask any athlete, those rest days are as important as those workout days.
And I work with a lot of corporate leaders, and burnout is prevalent. We know 7 out of 10 folks right now in the workplace are still not really thriving.
Yeah.
So Ruth, talk to us about how you got into this creative life that you created.
Yeah.
And how you're able to help, because even you coming off of Paris right now, trying to keep your coffee down and wake up, right? We got to make sure you get some rest. But how did you get here?
So it was a windy road. My first 2 degrees are in business. And I thought you finished business school, you go to work in finance. So that's what you're supposed to do. And I lasted 2 years. I didn't like it. I was good at it, but I didn't like it. So I made the switch back into academia. In college, I did the whole, hall director, that whole track. And I really enjoyed it and stayed there for over 20 years. But there was something gnawing at me. We were always I was running a program, the MD PhD program. And for over 20 years, we were having the same conversation at every annual meeting. How do we deal with these attrition issues? These are people, you have a 3.5% chance of getting accepted. These are people who have put so much on the line to get accepted. Why aren't they going through the whole program? Why are they dropping out? And you know what? We kept having the same conversation, and year after year, nothing has changed. And what did Einstein say about doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting something different to happen? It's insanity. So I said, why are we so focused on those who are leaving? Why don't instead we focus on those who are staying? And even within those who are staying, we know there's the cream rises, and there's some who are literally at a different level. They operate at a different level. Why don't we focus on making more of those people? So at the age of 43, while working full-time and raising my family, I went back to school, got my doctorate, studied that, and haven't stopped since. I've been studying success and high achievers. And it started with physician scientists, which led me to Nobel Prize winners and NIH Institute directors, and then to astronauts and Olympians and NBA champions and CEOs, and wrote a book, gave talks about it all over, and here we are.
And what's the net now? Looking back and saying, wow, I did this. I get to help people be their best and get them to focus on that. What do you feel like after coming off a high, like you just came off of, making sure you're getting your rest, but what are you excited about next?
I think what I have come to learn is that you can always change it, which is very different from how I grew up. I grew up, I'm a Gen Xer. You stay with the same spouse and same employer for your entire career.
Yeah.
Right. But then now everyone's starting job out of college and they're already planning their exit and their next job. And I said, the average is 4.2. I actually thought it was half that. I said, even 4 years, I'm not even sure I know where the bathrooms are at that point. Right. But what I have learned from that is that you can switch. And when it's not fun anymore, don't do it. Just don't do it, and find something that is. And that's okay, because what we know is as we transition in different points of our lives, our interests change. And that's why so many people quit their job during COVID, because it was a transition point in their life where they could take stock of what's important to them. So where the future goes, probably more books, lots more keynotes, and lots more executive coaching, because as of now, that's what I love.
And it's exciting because you probably, when you set out to do this, you didn't think I'd be with an Olympic village in Paris or with an astronaut, right? I mean, you might have, because science, but it is such now a needed value that we need in the workplace, that we need to help with studying what's working, and how do we help do more of that, right? How do we, and what are the things that you're seeing with it, whether it's with athletes or astronauts or executives, what is working now to help people get that balance, from that crazy town time?
Yeah. I think it's different for every single person. And I think what people want more than anything is to be valued in a bespoke manner. So not in a one size fits all manner, which is why the ice cream social is not working. The yoga is not working, because that's a one size fits all model where I want something that fits me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very different. And what I need is likely very different from what you need, because we're two totally different people. Right? So the idea that we all learn the same way and develop the same way is just not accurate. And one of the things that led me down this research path is we have been giving all of our attention and all of our resources to those who are not meeting benchmarks, those who have the performance improvement plans. They're the ones that are we send them to courses and workshops and give them a supervisor to hold them accountable. But meanwhile, people who are blowing benchmarks out of the water and being innovative, we can't seem to find the resources to send them to courses and conferences to learn new skills. I mean, that's a topsy-turvy world. That doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely. So what are you seeing though with the talk and also with that, but there's also a toxic environment still happening that I'm seeing within executive leaders, a lack of trust, the no longer connecting because they're not together anymore. And it's causing, I know you've written about mentorship and you've written the success factor. So we'll get into those two, but just curious what you're seeing with those, because I am seeing some of that going on.
I'm seeing a lot of people who are increasingly lonely.
Yes.
And it's not just because they're in a virtual world. We have almost forgotten how to connect. We've forgotten what is safe to talk about. We don't always know who we can trust anymore. And that has really caused some challenges. And I think having both coaching and mentoring internally within an organization can help alleviate some of those challenges. The mentors who can help with the long-term career projection and strategy, and the coaches who can help with the day-to-day of, look, you're coming off a little hot. Let's figure out how to cool this down a little bit, because it's creating this toxic environment. I know that's not what you mean. And I know you really want the team to do well, but it's not coming off in the way that's allowing you to do that. So let's figure out a way that you are comfortable with that will also land well with the team. And that's where the internal coaching really helps as well within organizations. I'm
glad you brought that up and mentoring. I love that saying everybody needs a coach. I mean, who is your coach? Who's your mentor? Who's your sponsor? Exactly. Let's talk about mentoring and how you created the book that you recently just launched, where that came from.
So that book is called Financial Times Guide to Mentoring. Yes, that pink newspaper, Financial Times, has a book in print. And this is part of their series. This is Financial Times Guide to Mentoring, which I wrote with Andy Lapata. One of the things I realized was that the astronauts and the Nobel Prize winners and the Olympians and the CEOs and the NBA champions, all of them had not one, but a team of mentors. And if this is what CEOs have and astronauts and Olympians, why do the rest of us mere mortals think that we don't need this? We're better than that. And every single one attributed so much of their success to their mentors. But you know what? I don't think we do mentoring well within organizations, or not as well as it could be. It's very haphazard. It's unclear who takes ownership. The mentor-mentee assignments are totally random. Oh, you're both from Texas. Therefore, let's make you a mentor-mentee match, because of course everyone from Texas is exactly the same. That's how random and absurd it is.
Mhm.
And it's, it has a place, those formal matches, if there's also an exit ramp where things could be reshuffled a little bit. So we realized it wasn't being done well. And this was a great opportunity because we know it. The statistics are very clear on this. Those who are mentored out-earn and outperform those who are not. They earn more money. They get promoted more often. They're happier in their job. They're happier in their careers, and they're more loyal to the organization, which means in this crazy job market, mentoring is the best retention tool out there. So why aren't we leveraging it?
Wow.
And it also works for the mentors who get promoted 6 times more often. And that's why Andy and I partnered to write the Financial Times Guide to Mentoring, which is really the how-to book on how to do mentoring.
I like that it's the Financial Times
Yes.
Guide to Mentoring. I mean, it kind of is like, what? And I think there's a lot of myths about mentoring. Like, who's the first one to reach out, and who should? What does a good mentoring program look like in an organization? Do you have some examples of that?
Yeah, I think what's important is that, look, we know 61% of the really good mentoring programs, no one actually matched them. No one actually asked someone to be their mentor. It just sort of evolved organically.
Yeah.
So the best mentoring programs, A, teach the mentors how to be effective. B, teach the mentees how to be effective and not just show up without a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And also create opportunities for people to meet each other so that they could be part of that 61% and even get that number to increase, because people like to connect with those who they know, like, and trust. I can't know, like, and trust someone I've been randomly assigned to. Right. But I can when I meet you and we connect, right? We logged on before we started taping and there was this instant connection between the two of us. We need to be able to have that with people. We need to be able to communicate with people. And you know what? It doesn't have to be in person.
That's true. So when people read your book, what do you want them to take from that? What you and Andy put together from the mentoring book? Yeah.
From the mentoring book, mentoring can be done well. It needs to be done well. Everyone needs to both have a mentor and be a mentor. And this book creates the toolkit for how to do it well. And it's really, it has everything from graphics to scripts to templates. What does it look like? What does an effective mentoring meeting look like? Should you take notes? Who takes the notes? I mean, we got really granular. We got granular about how to mentor somebody who's different than you, how to mentor people with neurodiversity. Everything we can think of, we put in there because there wasn't this one definitive book on how to mentor well. So we wrote it.
I love that. And I think that's just now you hear more and more people having coaches in the workplace.
Yes.
You don't hear about mentors. You might hear, oh, I've got a mentor, or she's my mentor. I have as we talk about this, I think about the person that's mentored me. It just happened, right? It just happened.
61%. Yes.
But I think I don't think about it for myself to go mentor.
Yeah. You know why?
Why?
Because coaches are usually paid for. So it's very clear. Here's the objective. Here's the time we're together. And here's how much I'm paying you. Mentors, at least in the United States, don't get paid. And there's no official, I am your mentor, you're my mentee. It's this organic conversation where the guidance just flows and the label doesn't really matter. It's only when you're reflecting that you realize and you say, you know, she really was my mentor. She gave me great advice. She really had my back all the time. So that's why you don't always recognize it when you see it.
And you're saying that not only executives, CEOs, but athletes,
yeah,
scientists, astronauts, they all have a mentor.
Yes, and politicians. Yeah, it's someone who can shorten the path for them. They see the hurdles that are before them, and they don't take away the hurdles, but they teach the mentee how to overcome the hurdles on their own. They prepare them for those hurdles before they get there. And And that is what a mentor can do. It shortens the path for you. It makes it easier for you. It creates opportunities for you. It extends your network. All of that. All of that.
And there's so many people right now leaving corporate, starting their own businesses, doing different things. But I don't think they know how to ask for a mentor. I don't know if they know where to go get one or what that looks like or who they can trust.
Yes. But you know what?
World out there.
It is a big world. But you know what? When you go somewhere, do you say, I don't know where to look for friends? No. You just go about your day and you find them along, right? It might be in your exercise class. It might be, a fellow parent at your kid's school. It might be in your house of worship. You don't even think about it. It's the same thing with mentoring. Take that pressure off of you. Don't walk into a room saying, where am I going to meet the mentor that's going to change my life? Walk in, see who you connect with, because you might connect with people that you didn't think could mentor you because their worlds are completely different. And you want your mentors to be the same as you, but also different than you. That you want some who do what you do, but you also want those who do different things from you, because that's how you're going to learn things. That's how the answers to questions happen, right? The checklists that happen in operating rooms, that happened because that's what pilots use. That pilots use checklists. So when they were having medical errors in healthcare and they were looking for a way to solve it, the answer came from aviation. So we need to be able to talk to people who are different from us as well and get out of our echo chambers.
I love that. It's funny. I never knew that. I never knew that came from the aviation to the medical. That's funny. So we started the talk off about how mindset and athletes and now we're getting into the business world and talking about mentors. But what is the common denominator here with the mindset? Because that is the key, I think.
Yeah. Look, I think you need to go into it and say, I don't know what I don't know. But I do know that I don't know everything I need to know. So who can light the path and who could teach me and bring to light what I don't know and help me figure it out? I am going to do everything I can, because people want to mentor those who are hungry to succeed. They are curious. They have the work ethic. They have the motivation. You don't need to remind them to do anything. They are eager to do it. Those are the people you want to be around, right? Those are the people that other people want to mentor. So that's what it's all about.
That is great. Well, as we get ready to close out, tell me anything that's coming up for you right now that I haven't asked you that you think is important for, whether it's about your book, The Success Mindset, or anything else that is coming up for you right now in this fog of travel, all that you've just been through.
Yes.
You want to make sure people take away that can help encourage them, inspire them as they're thinking about their path and their mindset.
You know what? I would love to give your listeners some resources, a bunch of resources, actually, that might help them, because we talked about so many things, and I want to make sure that they have a way to follow up. So first of all, anyone who's interested, look up my name on LinkedIn, Ruth Gotian, or my website. It's just my name. A bunch there. I write a lot in Forbes and Harvard Business Review and Psychology Today, and I post those articles on my LinkedIn. So definitely check those out. Now, there's The Success Factor is the book on the high achievers and the 4 mindsets of the high achievers. That's called The Success Factor. And my brand new book is called Financial Times Guide to Mentoring, which I wrote with Andy Lapata. And if your listeners want to get a little taste of what's inside and maybe download the first chapter for free, go to mentoring-guide.com. mentoring-guide.com. You see all the resources that we talk about, links to a whole bunch of stuff. Download the first chapter, and there is a link there that you can, if you're in a mentoring relationship, check out the impact. Is it having the maximum impact that it could? It's a quick 15-question Likert scale that will help you assess that. Now, if your listeners are saying, I want to find a mentor. I want to find a team of mentors. Yes, Ruth, I will go where there are interesting people. I will have those conversations, but I don't really know how to start a conversation with a stranger. That's awkward. And I really don't want to talk about the weather. So congratulations. You are like most people. I put together 13 of my favorite conversation starters. So if you want to download that, all of this is free on my website, ruthgotian.com/conversation. And if you want to develop your own mentoring team, I have what I call the bullseye exercise. And you could go to ruthgotian.com/mentoring team, one word.
Okay, that is a lot of gold right there. Thank you so much. But I have one question before we stop, because I want to give you rest. What is your favorite conversation starter?
I'm going to tell you what worked for me. I was at, somehow I got invited to this invite-only conference where it was filled with astronauts and congressmen and Nobel Prize winners. And I walked in there and I'm like, what am I doing here? I am totally out of my league. And I was sitting in the lobby, which I love to do because I need to people watch.
Yeah.
And this woman came by. She was walking by dressed like she just walked off the cover of Vogue. And she had a purse that was in the shape of a clock. So think of Flavor Flav that he wears it around his neck. It was her purse.
Oh my goodness.
And she walked by a couple of times. And I think the third time I said, I really like that purse. That is so unique. She stopped me, pulled me over, told me the whole story about the purse. And she said, oh, is this your first time here? I said, yeah, I don't really know anyone. She said, come with me. She had me and she introduced me to everyone who she knew because she had been going to this conference for 20 years. Turned out she was one of the first women comedic screenwriters on television. She wrote for Mary Tyler Moore and Maude. And that conversation happened over a conversation about her purse. I tell that story in The Success Factor.
I love that. I love that. Next time we see that, we're not going to think that we're going to go talk to that person.
Exactly. And all I said was, what a unique purse.
I mean, wow. Well, that's a great story. I love it. Ruth, thank you so much. Thank you for making an impact to your world. I mean, I just see it. I feel it. The books, the articles you're writing, how you're helping the athletes, how you were there with them. I mean, they're probably looking in the audience to see who's there, right? How cool was that?
So it was incredible. I'm not sure they could see me in the crowds, but I definitely got a lot of text messages and, it was coaching by text.
Yes, but how cool is that? So it's great to hear your story. Go get some rest. We can't wait to continue to follow you and get all your goodies and share them with our group here. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Sure.